The San Diego real estate market is always changing. That's why it's important to keep up on what's going on right now and going into having a long-term view. Today, we're going to get into 9 long-term trends that will reshape the housing market. This is for the entire housing market of the United States, but we're going to dive into what that actually means for San Diego. So let's get into it right now. The first trend is the household sizes are shrinking. As we're looking at the chart going back to 1960 over here, you can see the 1-person size of household and 2-person size of household has been growing, while the 7-person, 6-person, 5-person has been shrinking. So as we're going into these next few years, what does that mean for the San Diego real estate market? And why is this happening? Well, some of the reasons are delayed life events. So as younger generations are postponing school completion, marriage, homeownership, and parenthood, it's leaving more time to be spent alone. There's falling birth rates, which we'll get into here in a little bit, and aging population. So one impact that could potentially happen for San Diego with a smaller household size is smaller homes and going towards condos or townhomes. If you don't need necessarily a McMansion, you don't need 4,000 square foot for one person, potentially seeing a demand spike in some of those smaller type homes, smaller footprint, 1,500 square foot homes. Now, some of those I think will get more demand as going forward in the next few years anyways, due to a few other reasons besides the household size shrinking. I think one thing to keep on is affordability right here in San Diego. As the single family home market continues to rise, more people might be apt to go towards these townhomes and condos. And one good thing about townhomes and condos right here in San Diego is how they're set up. Now, if you go to downtown, yeah, you have condos, you have that traditional where you have, big buildings, you have that apartment style condo. When you go to the suburbs of San Diego, a lot of these outskirts in North counties and east and whatnot, you're going to find a lot of the townhomes, and we'll cover some of the newer townhomes here in a minute. But that style where you have, the newest style is ground floor, you have the living area in the middle, then you have the bedrooms upstairs. But where you're sharing a wall or two, you still have some outdoor space, especially in some of those condos built in the 80s and 90s, where it's living a little bit more like a home. But like where I live in San Diego, we are like a corner unit, so we share one wall on each side. It does share a wall, which isn't ideal, but it still tends to live a little bit more like a single family home. Over these past few years, even though single family homes has outpaced the price of condos as far as the price gain, we've seen condos have a little bit of a slowdown where home prices have still continued to go up a little bit rapidly. If this trend continues and people do move more towards condos, for affordability, smaller households not needing as much space, we could see the demand for those go up. Number 2 is the decelerated domestic population growth. And this chart's wild how many times it's been revised. Looking at the 2008 forecast, by 2050, we were well above 420 million. Got revised in 2012, in 2017, and now the forecast in 2023 has the United States dropping in population in 2081. Now, what does this mean for the San Diego real estate market? Now, looking at long-term into this chart, 2100, where we're seeing population decline, that could definitely have an effect on the real estate market. Now, looking at where that population decline is coming from, is it coming from specifically San Diego? Is it coming from other areas? Is San Diego seeing a more outbound migration than inbound at that time, and it's accumulated over the number of years? Or does San Diego still have a relatively strong, not only relocation, but a strong community that lives here? A lot of people want to stay here, or are people getting priced out at that point? If we do see the population growth, let's just stick to San Diego, go down along with the United States as a whole, more people moving out of San Diego, out of California as a whole, we could see a demand drop a bit right here. Now, over time, we're not seeing a ton of new construction. We're not seeing a ton of new housing. So the demand for housing right here in San Diego would drop, potentially pushing the downward pressure on home prices. But over that time too, let's see, it is 2100. So we're 75 years from there where we do see that happen. You've had about 75 years of price appreciation. So at that point, where are home prices? What's the affordability look like? But long term, with less population growth, with less people coming to San Diego, more people going out of San Diego, you could see a little bit of slump in demand here. The number 3 long-term trend is fertility rates are declining across the world. This kind of goes with the population in the United States declining, more people dying than are being born. There is going to be a little bit more play on the demand side of this one as well. So 2 things going against demand long term, very long term, as we're looking way into the future. And this part was super interesting, just looking at the fertility rates from 1965 to 2023. Looking here in North America was 3.0 in 1965. Now we're down to 1.6. Some of these other areas are more dramatic. Latin America was 5.7. Now they're at 1.8. Some other areas like India was 5.9. Now it's at 2.0. So this would be another long-term play on demand as a whole. And it's not necessarily San Diego or the US. It's like, okay, at what point where the demand does drop, where is demand going? Are they coming to San Diego? Are they going out of San Diego? That's something we'll keep an eye on long-term going forward. The next up is home builders are going smaller. So in 2023, the median square footage of new single family construction was 2,036 feet. And this trend we have seen in San Diego, maybe in square footage, but also in the like outdoor space of homes. If you look at homes going back that were built in the 70s and 80s, you're going to find more spread out. That's when a lot of the area was being developed. That's when there was space. They're like, look at all this land out here. We got a ton of area to put in big backyards, to put in space between homes. Certain areas are having green belts, are having, areas for people to get outdoors. Going into the 90s and 2000s, that started to shrink a little bit. Yards are getting a little bit smaller. Footprint of houses are getting a little bit bigger at this point. Going into 2000s, 2010s, you're starting to see those yards get even smaller. A lot of the new construction is like that townhome style that I was mentioning earlier, or detached condos where you might have a little small kind of patio style backyard. So that is a big impact we're going to see here in San Diego. There's not a ton of new construction, but some of the new construction that's going up there's some new construction up in San Marcos. There's that big construction development down in Mission Valley, Civita. You do have 3 routes where you're seeing these tighter communities. Now, some of these, the newer communities, they are putting some outdoor space. So like 3 routes, they do have some parks, they do have a rec center, they do have that kind of area, but nothing like it was in the 70s and 80s. So yes, a smaller footprint home. We're seeing a little bit more vertical building. The new construction over in Carlsbad off El Camino Real is kind of that typical construction you're going to see in new townhome communities where you can fit a lot of units in there, but the units still have garages. So a garage on the first level, maybe you walk in, there might be an office or a little kind of landing area or a little room down there. You go up and then you have like the kitchen and living area. As you go to the 3rd floor, that's where you have the bedrooms set up there. So that's like one of the new styles that we do see a lot right here in San Diego, and expect new construction that's going to be continuing right here in San Diego to be that same style. Number 5, remodeling. There's a long-term tailwind. So as we're looking at the median age of homes right here in San Diego, you can see it's probably in that 40-year range. We're nowhere near some of these 70 plus as you get into the middle of the country, as you go up to the East Coast up here. But there's still a lot of people who are going to be remodeling their home. To consider, the US stock is aging. Homeowners are locked into their current ultra-low 30-year fixed mortgage rate, and U.S. homeowners have record home equity, and HELOC and home equity loan activity is rising. And so if more people are locked into their home here in San Diego, more people are remodeling, that's going to make remodeling more expensive as contractors get busy, as materials get less affordable. If you're doing remodeling for your home and it makes sense, new kitchen, you're putting in a new bathroom, doing things like that, yeah, a lot of people are doing that. That's going to take down demand, as opposed to like a few years ago, maybe those people would just be like, hey, we're going to move. Now they're just going to remodel their home and kind of refresh it, make it look new, make it more their vibe, their current vibe, because they do have the equity in there. They can put it back into their home. I believe that's why a lot of people are right here in San Diego are not selling their home. Even my own situation, I've been in my house for the last 10 years. It's time to move. My family is growing. We need a bigger house, but we're just not at the point yet where we're going to move. We might put some more money into this house. We might remodel this house a little bit and stay here for a few more years until it is time, till we are ready to get that next property. There is a point, like we have some clients who were going to remodel their home, add, like basically got job, add new rooms, add some square footage. The contractor said, why don't you just cost wise, why don't you just take that money, purchase a new home, sell this home, whatever, rent it out, whatever the case may be. But for what you're going to put into this home to what you're going to get out of this home, as far as maybe selling it later, as far as just costs, it was very cost prohibitive at that point. They decided they're going to be buying a new home now. So there is situations where that happens, but there is going to be a lot more people who are just staying in their homes and remodeling, which does bring down the supply and the number of homes that we do see hitting the market right here in San Diego. But potentially adding to some of the supply. So maybe some of these people are staying, they're remodeling, but other people are aging and moving out of their homes or unfortunately passing away. The annual decline in the number of baby boomer US homeowner households, as estimated by Freddie Mac, is going to be going up over the next 10 years. As we see more baby boomers downsize or sell off their homes, we're going to see more supply. What portion of that right here is going to happen in San Diego? They're saying in 2023, going all the way to 2035, there's going to be 9.2 million fewer baby boomer households by 2035, according to Freddie Mac. So a slow ramp up on this. It could be those houses are going to hit the market. Maybe those houses get handed down to their kids. It really depends. And the number will really depend on what happens right here in San Diego. So if we see these numbers continue and a big chunk of that, I mean, not a big chunk, this is for all the US, but we do see a good portion of that right here in San Diego that could help with the supply side of things right here going forward. Number 7 is going to be home insurance risk. We have seen that here in San Diego where we've talked to people, we've had clients, friends, family, whatever, who have different stories about their homeowner's insurance, maybe not getting renewed, maybe going up in price, maybe as they are purchasing a home, it's going to be a lot more expensive than the previous people purchased. As insurance companies have left San Diego, have left California, rates have gone up. Is it going to restrict home growth here? Is it going to put a damper on home prices right here in San Diego? As we're looking right down here at the 3-year change in median annual home insurance premiums by county. So this is from 2020 till 2023. San Diego right here has seen a 26.4% jump. So from about $1,370 to just over $1,700. When you see it compared to other counties, Florida's, some Louisiana's, some other areas where it is like 80% plus right here, you can see we're not nearly at that level. Will it continue to grow over these next few years? Absolutely, as there's going to be more changes. But where will it be over the next few years? So here's home insurance non-renewal rates by county. Let's see where San Diego did fall in that front. So San Diego County non-renewal rate for 2023 was 2.16%. So relatively low compared to a lot of these other areas. I mean, even the highest areas were, 4, 5, 6%. But where are we going to be in 2025 and how restrictive is it going to be on the housing market here? So here's the projected growth in the average home insurance premium by county from 2025 to 2055. So look at some of these jumps. You can see San Diego's not on the far right side here. Some other areas are. As you're looking at some of the Floridas, they're expecting 290% increase. Down here in Pinellas, you're looking at 451% increase. El Dorado County, 291% increase. Right here in San Diego County, they are predicting a projected change of 28.6%. So a little bit more than we did see from 20 till 2023, where the average homeowner's insurance premium is going to be a bit higher than that. So in the big scheme of things, they're projecting that San Diego is not going to see a humongous increase. Imagine living somewhere and your homeowner's insurance went up over the next 30 years, 450%. That is crazy. That could definitely put a damper on the housing market. But right here in San Diego County, they're projecting it not to be that high. Number 8, the build to rent matures as an asset class. Build to rent communities that developers are building specifically to rent out. New master plan communities that they are building for people to move into and rent. Now in San Diego, I don't think this is going to be a huge deal. In other areas, yes, there's going to be a lot of this happening. Here's the 50 metro area housing markets with the largest single family build to rent pipelines. See some of the bigger ones in Phoenix, some in the Texas markets, Dallas, Houston. You can see in Georgia, you got Atlanta, you got Charlotte. So there are certain areas where developers are coming in to specifically build that. Right here in San Diego, that's not necessarily the case. A lot of San Diego is built out. Now there's some new communities, not built to rent, but I mean, just even new built to sell communities. There's not a ton of them, right? There's just some infill communities where you have a few hundred homes. There's some smaller infill communities that you're going to see. There's a lot of new communities in the pipeline, but not on that scale where we're going to see a big flood of supply, a big flood of homes coming onto the market. One thing build to rent that we have seen here in San Diego, I'll take Encinitas as a specific example because I pay a lot of attention to that. I live in the area. That's where I hear a lot of these things, read a lot of these stories, is the multifamily development that's going on. Encinitas has been behind as far as housing projects that they needed over these past few years, and developers have made their way through these past few years to push through some projects all seems like all at the same time in areas that are going to add a lot of congestion, a lot of more housing, a lot of parking issues, a lot of things going on that are going to happen in different areas that used to be open fields right here in Encinitas. And we could potentially see more of that. I know down south in the city of San Diego, there's some areas that they're potentially looking to change some zoning to build higher buildings to make it a little more packed. We have also seen a lot of ADUs being built in the city of San Diego, especially around transit centers. There's ADU bonuses where you can build a lot of ADUs on one specific property. Now that could potentially be changing here in the near future as you just have these single family homes and maybe they're on a quarter-acre lot or a big enough lot to have a bunch of ADUs on there. And developers are coming in and building those out. The neighborhoods are kind of lashing back and trying to get this change, and there's potentially change coming from that. But those are the types of building things that we're going to see here. And number 9, big builders keep getting bigger. Like here in San Diego, some of the big builders, Shea Homes, you have Lennar, you have KB Homes, there's a handful of others. Most of the developments that they're building are these smaller developments, a few hundred homes. Back to that, there's not a ton of new development right here in San Diego. Now, where are they going to build more here in San Diego? Like I said, some of those infill lots. There's some areas out in Valley Center that's seen some building. There's some Fallbrook, some Bonsall. There's some certain areas that have seen growth, that have seen development. San Marcos has some new construction going on. The Hill District over there, you know, Three Roots is still being continued. Civita down south. So there are new construction communities. But as far as that new supply, you know, like some of these other areas where they do have a ton of new construction, and that's a big part of a lot of business out there is these new construction communities. We don't necessarily have that in San Diego. So this is not necessarily going to add a ton of new supply. Yes, there's going to be new homes. Yes, there's going to be new multifamily, but it's not going to be a flood of homes right here in San Diego. So those are going to be 9 things to keep an eye on going forward, what it means for supply, what it means for demand, what it means for housing prices right here in San Diego. And we'll be keeping an eye on all that and keeping you informed right here. As always, I'm Chris Erickson. If you guys are thinking about making a move, all of our contact info is right below. Let's start that conversation because we got your back when making the move here in San Diego.